Hope you all had a great trip to come here indeed, and we are really happy to welcome you today to SG France 2021, which is the third edition of SG France, of the SGAC event in France, in our beautiful country. So I really hope you enjoy your welcome here, and that you have enough room in your suitcase to come back with the goodies that you have sent this morning. We were very helped by the sponsors. So I don't know where Pauline is. I think she's still there. Yeah. We are happy to see that you have already spent some time with the other delegates yesterday evening, and it was great to see that you were as excited as us to join the event today. And I really hope that you're going to enjoy it as much as we enjoy preparing it. So maybe, so today the reason why we are meeting, and thanks to the organization of the Space Generation Advisory Council, I will let Pauline talk about it a little bit more, and then we can start with the program of the day. Thank you.
So hi everyone, so super excited to meet you all in Lille. This is our third SG France event. And just before starting introducing a little bit SGAC, I just wanted to address a few words to the organizing team because they've done an amazing work over the last few months to prepare for this event. They started preparing and organizing this event since October 2020. So congratulations already, because you've done an amazing job, and do not forget also to enjoy So about SGAC in a few words. SGAC is a global non-governmental and non-profit organization, and it aims at gathering students and young professionals, so from 18 to 35 years old. So people that either study, work, or simply have a passion for space, and to gather all the students and young professionals and give them a voice to the UN. So it was created in 1999, so maybe there are some people that were not born when SGAC was created. And yeah, it has 3 different objectives. Yep. So the idea, as I said, is to create a global network of students and young professionals, but also to connect them with space experts and space professionals from the space sector, so either from space agencies, from space companies, or startups. So for example, during the day we have the occasion of meeting experts either during the inspirational speeches or during your roundtable. So enjoy also the chance to have the chance that you have to meet those people. And finally, the third objective of SGAC is to give a voice of those students and new professionals in the global space policy, and all the things that you will say today will be then summarized in a report that will be then presented to the UN. So if you have any recommendation, if you have anything to say, it's the time to say it, and then we can launch new activities and do some concrete work about what you are saying today. So SGAC is represented, as you see right there, in 150 countries. We have a lot of members from all over the world in the 6 different SGAC regions. We have a lot of partners. We organize events, scholarships, and we also have some project groups. But I will detail those activities a little bit later in the day if you're interested in getting more involved within the organization. And regarding SGAC in France, so we have 2 national point of contacts, Guillaume Thirion and I. And we are, depending on where you are looking at, if it's on a WhatsApp group or on our mailing list, we are between 250 and 300 members. And we did a short survey at the very beginning of our mandate, and we were represented in more than 90 different organizations all over the world. So quite incredible network. And each year we organize since 2019 our event, SG France. So the first one was organized in June 2019 in Paris, next to the Salon du Bourget. It was focusing on topics related to lunar exploration. Last year, we organized our event in Toulouse on September 2020 on site, and it was focusing on gender equality in the aerospace sector. And big but quite recent news, we were able to create a new project group with MSJC based on this topic. So we can have a great impact at those kind of events. So yeah, enjoy your day and give as much as you can. And we also organize different activities, but we'll get the chance to talk more about this during the day. So thank you all. Enjoy your day, and I hope to see you involved in the organization in the next few weeks and months. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pauline. So we have a little message from David, which is the executive of SGAC. So it's a bit to conclude what Pauline said, and to have a little intervention from the organization, which is hosting us today. So maybe you can launch that.
Hello everyone, dear SGAC France 2021 delegates, welcome to SGAC France 2021. Whether this is your first SGAC event or you're one of more experienced delegates, we warmly welcome you to this event. My name is David Pinta, I am the SGAC Executive Director at our office here in Vienna, in Austria, and we really welcome you to SGAC France 2021 today in Milan, France. There is no doubt that we are faced and we are continuing to face challenges with the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, and in these unprecedented times, we have been really constantly inspired by the energy and creativity of our SGAC France organizing team that has brought a really inspiring program, and has really put a lot of effort in creating a really great program for you to work towards solutions to inspire, promote, and ensure that this program is going to be dynamic, ongoing, engaging, and of course very fun. So we hope that you take this opportunity with all the delegates and speakers and to learn from the great opportunities and experiences of the ones around you. So be brave, be focused, challenge yourself, and don't forget, of course, to enjoy yourself.
Well, okay, thank you, David. So Davide is the voice of all SGAC to the United Nations. So it's great to have the support for SG France. Yeah, so you can see all the faces of all the people that have been working on SG France 2021, and you can see and recognize them today with the beautiful shirt that we have, and with their names here. So we have the communication team on the upper left with me, Simon, I, and Arnaud. So we have been working on all the designs and all the visual activities that you have seen with the website and other communication stuff related. We have the delegate team with Emile and Raphael. Unfortunately, Raphael isn't here today, but he's with us. Because they come from England, you know, so hard to come here to the event. And Emma that you might know from the emails that you've been receiving all the time. So they are also part of the sponsor team with Georgi and me. And the sponsor team, which is very important today because we couldn't be here without them. And we will thank them later in the presentation this morning. Then you have the logistics team, which made a huge work today to organize all the stuff and to make sure that you're not missing anything during the day. So in terms of catering food and all the place here and organize all the stuff in the main room. So thank you for your work. And finally, there is the program team in the upper right with Antoine, Marine, Valentin, and Charles, which will be the moderator of the roundtable where you will be going this afternoon. That I'm going to present a bit more in the future. And finally, Pauline and Guillaume, that you know today. So Guillaume isn't here either today for some personal reasons. And there is Pablo as well, which is event manager with me, that couldn't join as well because it's another country. So we are a team of students and young professionals that really love space and really wanted to go into this adventure together. And we're happy to show what we've been working on for the past 8 months. Next slide, please. So now more about the topic of today. So we have 4 roundtables that you might know now. And the goal of those roundtables is, as Pauline said, to provide some recommendations to the United Nations. So every 6 months there is this committee gathering to talk about, especially this one is the committee of the peaceful use of outer space. And we go there to show the recommendation that we have been working on during the events and we have been doing. So it's once again to show the voice of what we at SG France think about space and the different topics that are here. So concerning the first roundtable, but you will see a bit more in detail after, we have a roundtable for climate change where we're going to have some sponsors and people from Airbus mainly that will present you what they do at Airbus and help you on the inputs that we will have. There is another roundtable that Valentin will moderate. Yeah, the first one is from Marie. I don't know. Hello, Marie. She will moderate this one, and I hope you will enjoy this topic. Then Valentin is going to talk to you on the roundtable of space for a more sustainable world. So you have some new mobility topics and energetic transitions and new link between territories and people. The third roundtable is about more human space flight and human space exploration and focusing on the ISS. So about the future of the International Space Station, knowing that in the next 4 years NASA will stop funding it. So we need to find some new ways to make it interesting for human beings. And finally, the last one. So this one will be moderated by Charles, which is also there. And the last one is about the collaboration between lunar exploration and non-space sector back on Earth, which will be moderated by Antoine. I can see here, so maybe this one. Voilà. So concerning the program of the day, you can see there are a little bit of logistics here. So we start here, we are in the introduction part, but then we will start working and splitting in roundtables. So for logistic reasons, we have to make 2 different rounds of lunch. So you can see here, depending on your roundtable, you will eat a bit before, or you will eat a little bit later. Then you work as a roundtable, so as a little groups. And then you come back with us and you show your work that you've been doing during the roundtable. There will be a presentation from each roundtable in the end. And by the way, I think you have heard that one of each group will be, 1 or 2 from each group will be presenting what they did in the roundtable and the different recommendations that they found. Yes, and then finally the presentation, the conclusion, and the talking with them, which will be cool. We prepare many cool stuff. So less cool stuff, COVID-19 regulations. So it's great because since I think it's like 3 days ago, we had the rule of 6 people per table for eating removed. So now we can eat more than 6 people at the same table. But in any case, please respect those rules. I know you know them by heart now, but it's never enough to remind them. So yeah, be careful, wear your mask obviously, but now it's a trendy thing to have. Then wash your hands as much as you can. You please keep a distance between children. And be careful on how you cough, because it's important to have a great way to cough. Next slide. Alright, so we have another activity, but it's not as the quiz that we have been doing on the webinar. There is nothing to win, unfortunately, but you can answer some questions for someone else. So please open your phone and open the application on slido.com. I think you can find it online. So if you scan this, you can write on it easier. And then you can start answering some questions and it will be displayed. Wow. It's to know if you remember well the presentation of Pauline. Come on, guys.
I'm not sure that the numbers are
Yeah, most of you have the right answer. So we can know how many people in the room. Well, correct answer is the first one, obviously. So all around the world we have more than 15,000 people passionate by space, and they meet during events like this. So that's cool. Second question, what happened to the event last year? What was cool, what was less cool? Yeah. LGAC people know what happened. Oh. Who was in the ISS at the time? Which woman? I can't remember. We have the professionals here. Where are they? No, it has been rescheduled because it was supposed to be in June, 18th of June, and unfortunately it had to be rescheduled because something happened last year, which was COVID-19, and we had to reschedule it. So unfortunately we had no live with the female astronaut in the ISS, but we had Claudine, which is a former female astronaut that was here. So it was cool. Hope you all understand there. Well, that's tricky because we have people from the previous edition. Yay, 10%. C'est bon. Daniel Pablo, we are the event managers, we are not the national part of Francais. Yeah, so yeah, Pauline and Guillaume. And Guillaume, you managed with him last year as well for the SG France 2020.
And Florian and Audrey are the former NPOCs, and Eleonora and Alexandra are the regional coordinators.
Exactly. Not to know. And then, question on the next Space Generation Congress, which is the big event of SGAC taking place each year, usually at the same place as the IAC. Paris. The next one is going to be in October. Second.
And we have the event manager, the deputy event manager with us.
Yay! Hi! Good luck! Okay. And finally, last question, it's an open question for you. Who will be on Mars in the end of the century? It's a question not related to any topic. I mean, space exploration. Me. Who is it? Ah, oui! Thank you! That's marvelous. The Russians. Dogecoin, oh, come on. China, that's right. Pauline, are you come with me on Mars, Pauline? First things. Elon Musk, Thomas Pesquet. I gonna be on the moon, I hope, but for Mars. All of us got thrown. It starts to get good. Receiving is true. Sure. Terminator. Emmanuel Macron, je pense. Ok, guys. Alright. If we can go back to the slides. The views. Alright. So now we go a bit more concretely in the topic of today. And we have some intervention from very cool and qualified and very amazing speakers today. So Jean-François Clairvoy is not here, but we had the chance to meet him a few days ago, and he had a little message for you. So Jean-François Clairvoy is a former ESA astronaut, ESA and CNES astronaut, I think. So he went in space 3 times on board the NASA Space Shuttle in the 90s. And today he's the founder and president of RT Regime. And we will see on his desk that he has many diplomas. If you can launch the video, Valentin.
Hello, delegates of SG France 2021. I'm happy to be with you and share some thoughts about questions you might have about space. That's a great question. You know, space is a vast domain. You have space business with applications for telecommunications, TV, meteorology, navigation, Earth observation, meteorology. Now these are businesses and they are very important in our daily life. And the virtual exercise you can do is imagine we switch off all the active application satellites orbiting the Earth now, all of a sudden. No satellites anymore. It would be the big chaos on Earth. All financial transactions, I mean, no TV. So space is today serving the society worldwide in a way that we cannot go back anymore. And also to make people dream. We need to dream. And space is a perfect environment to make people dream, because it is mysterious, because it has still a lot of magical things that we want to explore and try to understand, because we float in weightlessness, because we have an extraordinary view of the Earth. So this is why space contributes to make life better. It is useful for your daily applications. It is useful to understand the evolution of climate change. And we know climate change is a big issue. And it's also a field of exploration that helps generations and generations to dream and to be inspired. This is my answer.
Wendy, we have you in the big screen. Maybe you
Wow,
can see
perfect.
yourself. Yeah,
Okay.
you can see yourself. All right.
So thank you very much for having me. I hope you can hear me well and loud and clear. And thank you very much for the invitation. Sorry for not being able to be here presently. I've got a family event this afternoon. So I'm not calling you from planet Mars, as the background may suggest. But here to say a few words about what I do in the field of environment and what got me here in terms of energy and drive that I can pass on to all the young professionals here this morning with us. So without further ado and conscious of time, in terms of how space can help us in our daily lives, I'm going to focus a bit more on forests. And you might think, okay, trees, matter, you see them every day, but more from a global perspective, and basically all the commodities that we use on a daily basis, whether it's food, whether it's beverages, whether it's cleaning products, all of this comes from our planet. And today we're seeing a lot of talk about the green imperative, about the need for a global approach, and the need to take action. Typically, just to give you a few terrifying figures, we've lost roughly 75% of tropical forests due to agriculture. There's an increase in the loss of humid forests as well since 4 or 5 years. And forests are really at the intersection of an ecosystem, of different ecosystems, I would say. There's the food systems I was mentioning before. There's also biodiversity, vulnerable ecosystems, land use, carbon, you name it, climate. So it's the air we breathe, it's the food we eat, it's the damage potentially that we do to the planet, and it's all this ecosystem in terms of necessities that we have to deal with. The good news, if I focus on what it is that we can do now, is that with space and with all the digital means that we actually have all the necessary tools to do something at scale, to take action. When I talk about taking action, it really is about leveraging objective information to derive the right insights and to take action where it matters, whether it's at local level, whether it's at scale. And typically in those tools, I mean, I can refer to the Copernicus program, I can refer to a number of other international Earth observation programs, to the commercial imagery world that I come from here at Airbus, as well as all the know-how and the analytics. And in this digital world, we have, I would say, the processing resources to automate analyses. We have the platforms to make all of this available in a user-friendly manner. We've developed a huge number of analytics also to monitor and understand the drivers of forest cover change. It's multi-sensor, it's big data driven, it's digital, and it's very much pervasive. So when I talk about Earth observation in this context, often people tell me, yes, but we already have a lot of in situ data. Yes, we already have experts working boots on the ground. And I'm not opposing the world that exists in terms of the declarative statements and the boots on the ground. I'm simply adding on a different flavor to complement what already exists. And typically, Earth observation and space have something completely different to bring to the table, which can complement, as I was saying, the existing methods to measure all of this and to take action. So in terms of additional features, what I have in mind is typically higher revisit frequency due to all the different constellations that we have, also the long time series that we can use in a very objective manner. If I look at the Starling tool we have, for instance, at Airbus to monitor forest cover change, we've got a 21-year time series with exactly the same measurements and same analytics running over that time series. So from that we can decipher all the trends and the dynamics of this change, because it's more than simply saying binary tree, no tree. It's really about understanding the drivers and the mechanisms at stake. So besides the frequency and the time series, I would say there's a transparency and objectiveness to satellite imagery, to say that there's a completeness that will never be found in declarative statements, for instance. There's this broader coverage, this world coverage at scale, but also the local precision, to say today we've got capabilities that are increasingly more precise. If I take, for instance, the example of the satellite we just launched, Pleiad Leo, at 30 centimeter resolution, so combined with other sensors at different resolutions, we have a precision beyond reach before, as well as this capacity to work at scale. All of this data can also be analyzed in a fully automated manner without going through all the, I would say, the paperwork. Again, it's not about opposing these methods, it's about understanding how they complement each other and noticing that we can have the best analytics, but if we don't have the local support to see how that impacts the local economy, the societal impact it has in the different countries where, for instance, forest cover change is evolving the most rapidly, well, we're going to miss part of the point. So the insights, the solutions for society, and the action to really drive action where it matters. So coming back perhaps to the daily part, if we look at a number of different commodities, we find them in the food we have absolutely every day. Maybe in Lille you've had some biscuits at the coffee break, and when you arrived, well, there's probably some form of commodity in those biscuits that comes from a completely different area in the world that has had an impact on forests. Again, positive note, we have the tools to move forward about that. And forests, again, have that critical impact because it's not simply the land use, I would say, it's the carbon cycles, and it relates directly to climate change as we've been witnessing it over the past decades. So I know my time is almost up, but I was also asked to say a few words about what got me here. So as an individual, I'm fascinated by problem solving. So that's for me an important driver when I get up in the morning to say, okay, Wendy, what is it that you're going to do today that's going to make a difference to the people that you work with or to the challenges that you're addressing? And I don't have a background in tech. I actually have a background in political science, but I started working in a very digital environment where everybody was trying to figure out what to do with the internet in terms of developing future public services, interconnecting services, and such. So the tech part sort of grew on me. And what's the main message behind that I'm trying to convey to all of you guys in the room today is to say that when you work in space, often people think that you have to be an engineer, that you have to be super great in maths. I'm saying, yes, of course you do, you need those people, but it's a combination of all these different skills that I really like in the space sector, where you're going to have the business-focused people, as well as the marketing, as well as the scientists working on the analytics. In the forest cover change example, for instance, we've had to develop a full methodology to monitor forest cover change. We've had data scientists, we've had imagery experts. So it's this big melting pot of all these profiles. So whatever your profile is, don't tell yourself that it's not a domain in which you could exceed. And ask yourself, how is it that you combine that expertise with the expertise of the people that you have? And in addition to that, I would say one of my drivers is what I call, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Mainly because in this world, everything is extremely complex, but conveying simple messages and developing user-friendly interfaces is something that we have to focus a lot on, which would be one of the challenges that I would put forward as well, to always ask, okay, why are we doing it this way? Is it sufficiently understandable by those who need to take action and such? And maybe just to conclude on 3 words, for the team aspect I've mentioned a lot, to focus who it is that you're going to be working with, the resilience in terms of attitude, to say, the never give up part, and to really pursue your objectives there. And also the meaning in terms of why is it that you're doing this. And I know that for the younger generation that I still feel part of, in terms of being young, I would say it's that drive and energy in terms of finding meaning in what you're doing so that it resonates in your daily life. So I think my time's up, so have a very good session, and I'll pass the floor back to you, Tanya. Thanks a lot.
So take some pen and be ready to take some notes. So first I will introduce you myself. So this is me. I'm now 35 years old, so I'm still a young professional officially. Still an SGAC member, by the way. So I graduated as an aeronautical engineer, so more related to planes mostly. Then I did my master's in aerospace because space was always my passion. My master's thesis was on material science because it was on in situ resource utilization on the moon. But then I also did some summer schools, like I attended the International Space University in NASA Ames in the US. I also did the space transportation course in Rome. And I did also a young graduate trainee at the European Space Agency in the Netherlands. And why I say all this? Because this is my trajectory. I was an aeronautical engineer, and today I'm here. Just 2 days ago, I started working at ESA Aerospace, also in Munich, basically doing business development and selling rockets. We're developing a micro launcher. So I moved from being an engineer to working in business. After I did my young graduate trainee at ESA, I became the executive director of SGAC. I realized that I really liked other aspects in the space sector, more like business, more like space policy, strategy, and this developed towards becoming also a business developer at OHB, which is one of the biggest companies in Europe developing satellite systems. And as I said earlier, now, 2 days ago, I moved into doing business development for a rocket company. So, on the contrary of what Wendy said, you also can start as an engineer and develop into a business person, a marketing person, a space policy person. So, your path can be really adaptive. And that comes to my first tip. Take note of it. Do not stick too much to one career plan. And with this, what I mean is be ready to adapt your path. Be versatile. Versatility will make you strive and drive during your professional career. And with this, what I mean is that you should start filling your toolbox, because you will never know when you will learn something new that you will need in the future. So be versatile, and most importantly, enjoy the ride. So don't be too focused on like, oh, I have to become the best aerospace engineer because this is what I started when I was 18 years old. Not at all. You're gonna be adapting your career, and as I said, the most important part is for you to enjoy the ride. Be versatile. Take note of that. Tip number 2, say yes more often. Because saying yes will bring you discomfort, will make you to seek discomfort. Raise your hand more often, raise your voice more often. Again, feel discomfort. Here you have the curve of the anatomy of a learning experience. You see here when you're in your comfort zone, you're applying all that you have been learning in the past, you're good, and suddenly, I can tell you, if you start feeling discomfort, if you say yes to something that you were not expecting to say yes, you might feel some time of stress, you might feel some time of like you're going down, but I can tell you, it's a logarithmic learning experience that you're gonna experience. So again, seek discomfort, say yes more often. Tip number 3, do not only apply for a job. And what I mean here is create your own job position. To be honest, at OHB, for example, as a business developer, there was not an open position in the website. And what I did was like, I created my own job, I made a proposal to them, and they saw the value of having me, and they hired me to my dream job. So I want you to do this. You can do this afternoon during your coffee time. So imagine yourself doing something for 8 hours a day, 300 days a year, or even more. Write it down, because that's your job description. And be ready to adapt the job description, as I said before. As soon as you build up your toolbox, you might want to adjust that job description. So go back to it and update it throughout your career. Then with this job description that you have written down, investigate about companies that excite you, talk to people for reference within this company, because sometimes you might think a company is really cool, but when you talk to people, you realize that you have idealized that company. So talk to people for references. And then analyze what is the value proposition for the company when they have you. Write it down as well. And put all this into a nice proposal, nice package, and send it to human resources, send it to any employee you might know in the company, or to any person really that have or might have any contact to that company. And in parallel, of course, like it's always not like an ideal world, but make sure you try to gather experiences that will lead you to that dream job, to that job description that you wrote in this second step. Either engaging in voluntary work, or doing some part-time jobs, or creating your own ideas and initiatives, because this will make a difference when you present this proposal that you are bringing up together. And also because doing that in parallel will make people get to know you. So it's important that you know people, but it's more important that people get to know you. Because references are important. They can then go back to the company that you would like to be working for, and they can tell you, hey, I have worked with this person in this voluntary project that we did. She is great, he is great. So yeah, references are important. So yeah, create your own job. That was my tip number 3. Tip number 4, seek mentorship. At any time, at any age. This is something that I was younger, I didn't even know what mentor was. But now that I'm 35 years old, I look back and I realize that my mentors really helped me a lot. And seek for different mentors. They don't necessarily need to be within your domain or doing the same thing that you're doing. In fact, a mentor should be able to give you new tools, new ideas, new perspectives on how to approach and how to develop your career. Now, we feel a little bit shy many times because you think, oh, like, why this senior person, super important person, is gonna want to spend his or her time talking to me? But really, just ask. So as also some homework for you to do, to think of persons that you'd like to have as mentors and send them an email, send them a text in LinkedIn, message in LinkedIn, just ask. Because I can tell you, if they cannot because they don't have the time, if they don't want because they don't feel like they want to be your mentors, they will say no, and that's okay. And what's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is that at least they get to know your name. So please go and ask. Then have a meeting with this person and think whether you're a match or not. Maybe you idealize again this person, but when you start talking to this person, you have this first meeting, you realize you don't connect, you don't have a feeling. Because mentoring is bi-directional. The mentor is going to learn from you the same way you are learning from your mentor. But the moment you find is a match, that you really can learn from this person, that this person also feels comfortable talking with you, schedule regular meetings. So don't forget this mentor and make sure you talk to this person every 2 months or twice a year. This is up to you and your mentor to decide. So that was tip number 4, seek mentorship. Tip number 5, go beyond your duty. So this is me when I was executive director of SJC. This was my job, representing the organization at the United Nations, in academia and industry. But look, I was also volunteering to mount an IKEA chair when it was needed. Because you never know, while you mount your IKEA chair, who you're gonna talk to, who you're gonna meet, and you also never know when will you be needing these mounting chairs skills. So mounting chairs here is just a metaphoric way of telling you that you have to be proactive. Go and do things that you were not supposed to do in your first instance. Volunteer for new tasks when you see something that is exciting, or maybe like you have some interest, just go for it, volunteer. And not only volunteer for things that already exist, but initiate different projects. For example, when I was working at OHB, I was supposed to be a business developer for exploration topics, just looking into ESA, European Commission, acquire new projects. But I wanted to go beyond my duty, so I even started our own young professionals group in the company, OHB Next Gen, to bring in new perspectives to our management board. So that was going beyond my duty. Or even before I left the company, 1 week before, I even proposed to the company an improvement idea, which I shouldn't have done it because I was leaving the company. Why to do it? But these type of things is what will make you highlight from others when you go beyond your duty. And I can tell you, this is the times where you will feel also more reward, because you will be doing things that you really were passionate about, that you didn't expect that they were going to be on your table, in your portfolio, and they will be the most rewarding ones. So these were my 5 tips, but I have 2 bonus tips. And the bonus tip is to surround yourself with the best. This is really important. You have to very focus yourself professionally, but also personally. So this is me with my family. You have to have a good group of friends, a good group of people that support you at all times, that encourage you, and that make you feel confident that you can do whatever you want to do. And also, surround yourself by the best professionally. So I can tell you already, by being here at SG France today, you're already surrounding yourself with a great group of people. So take a screenshot today of like the Google Meet, or take a selfie there in the audience, because this is the right people. This is the right people that you can learn from and that you can continue evolving in your career. And my last bonus tip for you guys today is, sometimes it is better to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission. And I leave it there. So thank you very much.
And we welcome Monsieur Jean-Jacques Darzin, which is the former Director General of ESA back in the years 2000, early 2000. So I'm going to give you the mic, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much. First of all, I am so happy to be back in Lille, because none of you were born when I was in Lycée Fédéral before entering École Centrale in Paris. And I was glad, and I have accepted to come to Lille before Lille was champions in football. So just to say that I made the right choice. So glad to be with you, and I have been asked to speak of space and non-space, which we can call Espace sans frontières, which is space without borders. And this is certainly, space has become very important for any human on planet Earth. But I think that the main message which came from space, which is the most important one, was the one, and I was still at school at that time, Christmas '68, when for the first time in the history of humanity, 3 guys, no woman at that time, 3 guys made a turn around the moon. And it was Apollo 8, and this was by far the most important Apollo mission. And because Bill Anders, when the crew came from the far side of the moon and they discovered planet Earth, he has said that we made all this way to explore the moon, but the most important is that we have discovered planet Earth. And that is something which is still very up to date. Because it was from that very moment, because of these 3 witnesses, that we know that there is only one planet Earth. There is only one crew on board planet Earth, which is humanity, the humans there. And we have only one future. So, one planet Earth, one crew, one future. And it's one planet Earth, which is, okay, as you know, fragile, finite, very important, I shall come to that, and unique, at least for some time. And that is an important factor. It's one crew, and one crew which is made of successive generations. I know that you are the space generation, but you are only one generation of humanity. And the crew is made of several successive generations. And as for any crew, all these humans, they must be actors. There should not be actors and spectators, only actors. Look at the crew of the space station. All the astronauts, including Pesquet, they are actors on board. And much more than that, they spend 50% of their time just to take care of the spacecraft. Imagine that each of us was taking 50% of our time just to take care of our spacecraft, which is planet Earth. That would be a significant change. And also one future. This is the other message from space, meaning that the future, and I would like that you have that in mind, the future is infinite and even beyond. It's not my future, it's not your future. This is the future of humanity, which I hope will be infinite on planet Earth. And unfortunately, you, me, everyone, our behavior is totally opposite. We consider that planet Earth is infinite, meaning that we take all resources that we need. And we consider that the time is finite, because you can think about your children, not yet you, but at least myself. You can take care of your children, maybe your grandchildren, but after that, this is the deluge. And that is totally wrong. Totally wrong. Planet Earth is finite, and the time is infinite. And this is time for us to change our behavior. So change your mindset. Second message is that there is no borders between generations. You are the space generation, but I used to be a space generation too. As I said many times, I entered en sixième in France, 1st of October 1957, you can check. And USSR, they were so glad that I was entering on Cesium that they launched the Sputnik on the 4th of October. So they took 3 days, but they made it. Meaning that I have entered space on the 4th of October 1957, and I have no intention to come back. So there is no border between generations. You are the young generation, you are the incoming generation. I am the outgoing generation, but we are working together. And your generation is making a lot of, there is breaking news every day coming from the new generation of space actors. Just to take an example, there was a launch of SpaceX during the night between Wednesday and Thursday this week. And on board there were two satellites of Loft Orbital, one satellite of Aerospace Lab with ExoTrail. So just to mention the one that I know very well, but this is the achievement of the young generation. But the old generation is not absent of that. We have all learned yesterday that Wally Funk, 82, will go with Jeff Bezos on the 20th of July in space. And that lady, it's interesting especially for me, was the youngest woman selected in the 60s with the Mercury 13 candidates selected during the Mercury time. 13 women selected at that time, no one has flown. But Wally was the youngest one, and she will fly on the 20th of July this year with Jeff Bezos, which makes me confident because I was the youngest selected in 77 in France among the 5 first French selected to be astronauts, so it makes me confident that I have a chance to fly. And so just to say that there is the work of the young generation and the work of the old generation. And we have to learn from each other. I am learning every day myself from, I am working with 15 startups and only young people, and I enjoy that. And I am learning every day. But I hope that they are learning a little bit from me, and especially from the mistakes that we, the old generation, we have made. Because you have to learn much more from your mistakes than from your success. And unfortunately, our generation, we have had a lot of success, but we have made a very big mistake, which was to develop space activities in isolation. The space sector has been a sanctuary during 6 decades, meaning that we have developed our own standards of cost, our own standards of no risk, our own standards of long time. And unfortunately, it is a big mistake that you young generation, you have to change. Because we cannot continue with the standards that we have developed since 60 years. I said the cost of space activities it has no equivalent anywhere. And I can tell you, I can give you 2 or 3 examples. True. I was at school in Central with a guy who is Jean-Jacques Is. And Jean-Jacques Is was well known at the time because he was working for Renault Formula One. He was developing engines of Renault Formula One. And that guy, it was at the time where the Formula One, they had turbo, it was turbo engines. And at that time, I was at Onera, I was not yet at ESA, and I was developing a code to make the simulation of the flow in the turbopump of Ariane. And Jean-Jacques, who was a friend, was asking me, your code is fantastic. I would like you to make some computation for the turbo of the Renault Formula One, exactly as you are doing for Ariane. And I said, no problem. And I sent him a technical and financial proposal. And this is true. 2 weeks later, Jean-Jacques called me and asked me, I like your proposal, but you have made a mistake. You have made your financial proposal in cents and not in francs, because he could not believe that the price that I was giving to him could be true. While the French space agency was accepting that financial proposal without even any discussion, for him it was a total different world. The same for many things. I bought my car. And you are invited to see my car in Paris. I bought my car in 1979. And this is a Volkswagen Beetle. A real one, not the new Beetle, not an old guy. So it's a real Beetle, 79, convertible one, very beautiful. And 79 was the year of the launch of Ariane 1. And I can tell you that there is much more difference between my Volkswagen of 79 and any car of 2021 than between Ariane 1 and Ariane 5. Meaning that the automotive industry has moved much quicker than the launcher industry. So this is all examples that I can give to show that what we have done in space was very good. Only success. 12 years Director General of ESA, no failure. And when I left ESA, I was saying that. No failure in 12 years. And unfortunately, it's a bad news, because it means that we have been much too careful. It's impossible to go to space for 12 years and have only success. We are much too careful. And because we are much too careful, we are long and costly. That must change. We cannot continue that way. And this is again what you have to do. It's to break the walls between the space sector and the non-space sector. You have to break the walls between the space sector and automotive industry. A lot to learn from them, and especially the smart structures. It's a my Volkswagen still needs a garagist, but the BMW of 2021, the car is telling you what is the problem. Not anymore a garagist. We have not yet that in space. We have a lot to learn from the air transportation or maritime transportation, and especially for the scenario. What has revolutionized the air transport and maritime transport is the hubs and the containers. We are still very far from there in space transportation. We can learn a lot by breaking the walls between space industry and resource industry. You will speak today of space resources, but space resources is much more a field for resource industry than a field for space industry. We can learn a lot from Total, Schlumberger, all these resource industry, which can bring a lot to the space sector. So break the walls. More difficult to build bridges than walls, but build bridges and break the walls between the space sector and the non-space sector. And that will be a key for the space sector. Meaning that you have to remove all borders. Obviously, we all know that space is removing borders on planet Earth, but it's much more than that. It's borders between generations. It's borders between space and non-space. Borders between planet Earth and the space even. Why having the Kármán line? Good to be an astronaut, to go above the Kármán line, but It's not a border. At least it's not a natural border. So we have to remove all these borders. Because at the end, and I would like to finish by that, I can tell you that I am much more concerned by the future of humanity than by the future of planet Earth. We are always saying that we have to make planet Earth sustainable. I would prefer to make humanity sustainable on planet Earth. So take care of that. Make humanity sustainable on planet Earth. Thank you very much.
During the day, right? You might go and walk around some roundtable topics.
Yes, I should go to the space station because
great. And maybe you know Inspirational.
I was in the space station directorate when I arrived at ESA, so I know very well the space station, especially the past of the space station, but ready to speak about the future. But also I think that there is one on which we will address the space resources, which is another on
the first one.
current interest.
Amazing. Thank you for your speech, and it was very, very inspiring also. Thanks, and see you later in the day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.